All right, good Tuesday evening to you. Drew Richards and David Neal here, coming to you live from the studio. We are looking at some time-lapse video that was taken last week down in Florida. Pretty cool thunderstorm time-lapse there. You can see the outflow boundary coming out towards the camera, and then some wicked cloud-to-ground lightning strikes right there on the downburst side of the thunderstorm. But there we go. David, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm pretty good. Just kind of, like you, I'm sort of waiting to get outside because it's so beautiful outside tonight, and we got rid of some of the heat during the day today, and now it's a blessing to be sitting into the 70s and even the low 80s as we speak, with the dew points kind of chilly, and it's a good night outside. So not going to hold you up very long here at all on this side of things. I don't see us on the page yet, but on YouTube, but do you see us rolling? Are we rolling?
I know I've got us going on the on Brett's channel. Let's see.
Okay. And that would be live.
Yep, we are live on there. I don't know if I tried to fire the LSM off doing a copy over, but I don't know if that worked. But yeah, we're definitely live on Brett's channel. So if you're watching, hit us up in chat. Let us know where you're watching from this afternoon. Like David said, we're not going to keep you here long tonight. Wanted to jump on, do a quick recap of kind of what we've been looking at this year. And we're going to look at the tropics, so stay tuned for that just for a couple minutes. And then we're going to look at possibly a big heat ridge that builds across the country as we get into the first part of the weekend, possibly in parts of the central and northern plains, and then maybe a large area of some excessive heat if the models are right. Big if, as we go into next week. But what I wanted to start out doing tonight, again, we were just looking at that thunderstorm time lapse. It's been crazy this year with March 24th kind of kicked everything off. This is footage from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Had that monster EF4 tornado, and you can see it there as the lightning flashes. Big wedge tornado on the ground that come right through Rolling Fork, Mississippi. And again, a high-end EF4 was the final rating on that. Just did a number on the town down there, and Brett just went down there, I guess it was last week, and kind of did a revisit in some portions of the town, and it's sad. He said, many empty lots where houses used to be, and businesses are just totally still torn apart, and not a lot of rebuilding just yet. So several months have passed since Rolling Fork, and unfortunately, we lost several lives with that thunderstorm. Then fast forward not even a week, and we had the big double high-risk area, the high risk up north, including Illinois. Illinois had, I think it was over 100 tornadoes. I had the exact number, but I've lost it here in my tabs. Illinois, believe it or not, had the highest number of tornadoes from that high-risk event, and all the way through the end of July, Illinois was winning all other 50 states, beating all the 50 states with the number of tornadoes they saw just because of that high-risk day. There comes a tornado in Little Rock. That's his Brett Adair's footage as he was looking over the hill there, west side of Little Rock, and they were able to get the word out via local news, and I think a lot of people took action and went to their safe place after they saw this tornado footage of that storm coming into downtown Little Rock. Tornado emergency was issued again. That was on March 31st. And thankfully, no loss of lives in Little Rock. That is just an incredible sight, seeing that monster tornado coming over the hill there, coming right into the Little Rock area. And to say that come through a highly populated area like it did, and we had 0 fatalities, again, just that is a huge props to everybody paying attention to the weather, the news media, the Storm Prediction Center, Brett, and all the chasers out getting footage and broadcasting live that day. And again, that's why they do what they do. Fast forward just a little bit longer, the same thunderstorm, this is in Wynne, Arkansas, still on the ground, went right through town, and unfortunately did a lot of damage in Wynne, Arkansas. That thunderstorm continued to produce tornadoes all the way into northwestern Tennessee on that high-risk day as well. The very next night, the very next morning, we had some EF3 tornadoes come through near Jackson, Tennessee, Savannah, Tennessee, all the way up to the Hohenwald area. Did a lot of damage up there as well. Then fast forward just a couple more months, and we did not let up. Spalding, Nebraska, look at that monster wedge coming through. Thankfully, this is the kind of tornado we like to see. It's a monster, it's a wedge, but it stayed mainly in unpopulated areas, but just crazy photogenic seeing that monster tornado on the ground. And then again, fast forward just about another week, and unfortunately we had Matador, Texas that happened, and we did unfortunately have loss of life in Matador. Huge destruction It come right through the middle of town, and that was just a devastating scene there as that storm moved through. And unfortunately, we had a dual hit. The tornado moved through, and as you can see, we had another supercell right on its heels that produced flooding and large hail, and almost had a second tornado, but thankfully it didn't drop as that second thunderstorm was coming through the Matador area. So again, just incredible storms so far this year. We have kept that rolling right through August so far, especially in parts of the east and the southeast. Just unrelenting severe weather episodes. So that's where we've been. Where are we going? What are we doing next? Well, I'll give you the preview. We're going to go full screen with Dave, and we're going to look at some of the tropics and look at some of the models. But, right now we've had severe weather today up and down the eastern seaboard. That's associated with a big cold front that's coming across the country. So we get a little break. We've got a chance of severe weather tomorrow in the northern plains with another little system coming down, but a little bit of break for a lot of the country, a lot less humid for many areas. It's been baking with 115-degree heat indexes for days on end. But, yep, unfortunately, we're still in August. We're still in summer, and we got a lot more heat to go. So with that, let's go over full screen to Dave, and he's going to go to the maps, and we're going to look at a couple things in the tropics.
Yeah, the weird thing too, Drew, that we're talking about is how it's been. We've flip-flopped here, and I was talking to Jim Stefkovich, who Jim was the MIC, the meteorologist in charge there in Birmingham for many, many years. Birmingham, Alabama. I've worked with him for many, many years. We're good friends too. But he was in charge of the southern region. Now he's the state meteorologist for Alabama, the emergency management group there, and smart man. But he texted me the other day, and he said, first of all, he said that I was much older than him. That's not true, Jim. But he said I've been around a lot longer than him. That's not true. But had I ever seen in August where we had non-tropical severe weather coming by so often, and I don't remember it. I mean, I sort of in my lifetime, I do remember when I began working in Birmingham, Alabama, when I was the chief there for the Fox affiliate in Birmingham, Alabama. That was in 1996. I'd come out of Chattanooga for 10 years. We had very little severe weather, but grew up in Birmingham, so I knew there was plenty of severe weather in Birmingham, but just not really early. We had sort of a fall scenario. Then we had a springtime scenario too that we were much more worried about, March, April, and May. But it was of '96. It was September the 16th of 1996, and my first day there at the television station, we had like 41 tornado warnings from 7 a.m. It was a Monday, 7 a.m. until 2 a.m. the next morning. On Tuesday morning, I was actually on the air nonstop by myself. And that was a prolific day to me. And it's why I still remember to this day how early the severe weather season could be. September the 16th was as early as I'd ever recalled it. And here we are in August, and we haven't had a bunch of tornadoes. We've had a couple. We've had a couple that we've gone back and, actually drew up in your neck of the woods there. I know there was an F0. Where was that? Just the other day.
What I was about to say, Huntsville area. We had two tornadoes in Madison County just about a couple of weeks ago. Both were EF0. And then, Limestone County had one last week as well. So pretty crazy stuff for August.
Which had nothing to do with tropical weather. Now, typically, if you're going to we get tornadoes during the summer, but it's always associated with something tropical out of the Gulf of Mexico, and some of those outer bands that feed in will produce, short-lived small tornadoes. Well, these had nothing to do with that. These were coming in out of the north and moving southward out of a derecho-type situation, or just a long-term mesocyclone that would be headed down to the south. So, just weirdness all over the place. That plus the fact, and again, Jim mentioned this, he said, and when have we had dew points into the 80s in the middle of the day?
Yes.
It's just crazy kind of stuff. Now, I reminded him, I do remember being in Minneapolis, Minnesota, when the corn would, when it would start to ripen there, and we would get, dew points into the 80s because of the moisture that would come with the corn as it began to go through its maturation process. And I do remember an 80-degree dew point in Minneapolis, but not necessarily in Alabama during noontime. Normally the dew point drops during the middle of the day. It is your driest point of the day. It's typically wettest in the morning into the afternoon or evening. is when the relative humidity is at its highest. So a couple of things, couple of anomalies that are really going on here. Strange kind of stuff. Has got anything to do with the UFO disclosure? I don't know, but I wouldn't doubt it at this point. There's a lot of stuff that's going on here that is kind of unreal. At this point, there's a cold front that's headed southward right now. We did have some. We've had some reports of trees down, that kind of thing, on a regular basis. Right now, we got severe thunderstorm warnings all the way down to, it looks like, Walton County there and into Bay County in Florida. I don't know if you can pull up the radar here, but as we look at it, we already have some thunderstorms, some pretty big thunderstorms that are ongoing down to the south that are associated with our frontal boundaries. It's going on south right through the rest of this evening. And out of Eglin, you can see there's quite a bit of thunderstorm activity going on there, too. These are all big thunderstorms that are headed on eastward, and as they do so, they'll head down into the Gulf of Mexico here pretty shortly.
I'm having a little bit of radar issue, it looks like. I'm trying to get that to load, but I'm getting lightning data, but I'm not getting radar for some reason. So it looks like you're doing the same. So
yeah, boo hiss. Hold on, I got another radar program here. Let's see. So again, we go down here, and I can show you reflectivity, and we'll add EDX into here. So there it is, big mass coming southward here. From Crestview back over to Bruton and into Atmore, Alabama. This is coming right across into the Panhandle, Florala, Alabama, and back over to Chipley, Florida, Mariana, through that area. Severe thunderstorm warnings that are in place here. These expire in about 45, 50 minutes or so. Crystal Lake and down to Lynn Haven, but this is just outside of Panama City, Florida, on the left side, west side of West Bay. 60-mile-per-hour winds. Expect some damage here and there around Panama City, over to Santa Rosa Beach, to Funiac Springs, and that kind of thing, going down south through toward Lynn Haven and into Panama City there tonight. That's where the southern end of all this mess is. Up to the north, we got a few more thunderstorms here and there, but they're scattered about. We don't see anything that's going to remain very long. Radar to the north here. We go over back onto the south, and you can see some of this. It's moving offshore at the moment out of Savannah. Strong thunderstorms, but no warnings here. These go all the way over to Hilton Head Plantation into the Beaufort and Beaufort areas of both North and South Carolina. And then toward the north, you can see North Myrtle Beach got a couple of scattered thunderstorms here as well. The LTX radar showing you more of that stuff. This is scattered, moving northward all the way up and into the Outer Banks of the Carolinas. So this is the northern extent of all this. What we're really seeing here basically is just some cooler air that'll be coming back in. Now, you go out to the tropics that we were talking about. We've been looking at this off and on. I think I got a little motion here to show you through the day today. I want to show you two things here that are very prominent to me as you look at this right now in the satellite imagery. And one is something we haven't really talked about that much, which is I see dust. I see the pink color there? That is some of the sand coming in off of the coast of Africa now and getting entrenched. See it there? That's quite a bit of sand that's dust that's coming in all the way over now into the Caribbean, into the southern central sections of the Caribbean, south of Cuba, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, or even up to Jamaica. You can find that. So the fetch of dust goes all the way back over 2,000 miles into the western coast of Africa, south of the Azores. And that is an inhibitor, as we've seen in the past years. Anytime we have that much dust into the mid-levels, sand into the mid-levels, it is an inhibitor typically for several different reasons. One is it just obstructs the sunlight coming down to the surface of the water, but also it uses itself as a nuclei to go ahead and destroy whatever precipitable water might be there, be available for the system. And so, we're going to be talking about that too, I think, as we move through time. Got a little bit of rotation. You can see it coming off the coast here once again, but we've had that off and on out of several of the storms. We've had rotation coming off, but they didn't complete very well at all. And again, you're looking at the, we call this the sandwich, which is putting it all together here, showing you a little bit of a visible image plus the infrared image, which shows, again, you got your thunderstorms ongoing here into the northern portions of South America. That's all land-based. Daytime heating, same thing over here into Cuba. So that's landmass oriented. But what you got out here into the eastern sections of the Atlantic is some of the new thunderstorms that are developing. Now, you got low pressure across the north. We got a high pressure ridge that'll be building in again across the Bahamas. That's going to be a feature that'll be here for a while. Again, you get the big Bermuda high that'll be building back in, I think, over time. And so that's going to shove everything down to the south and maybe cause the recurvature to end up being somewhere down here a little bit further to the south as well. But right now, all disturbances are still well off to the east. There's very little chance into the short term as far as the National Hurricane Center is involved. They say, it's less than 20%, 10% really, out of the two systems coming offshore. The one that's midway there, pretty far down to the south, below 10 degrees, first of all, and you got to go quite a bit further north to see anything develop there. Here are the two things that could develop and move on to the northeast. Less than 40% chance at the moment, and there is a recurvature there, so we'd be looking at that. Whatever happens into the Gulf of Mexico is our second big deal that we were looking at, whether or not that was actually going to take place. And we can show you really quickly here, if we do look at the long term, we'll look at the model, the GFS model actually, and take a look at what's happening with that, because I think it does at the very end of it here. Look at this huge 1024 high sitting out mid-Atlantic. Right there into the central latitude. So everything's down at the bottom of that as it moves along. But if we put this into motion to show you what's being expected to happen over time, everything slides around. There's your little thing going on right here. We got a low pressure center right there, small, compact bowling ball sort of looking thing right there into the mid-Atlantic. And then again, lifts off to the north. Looks like it becomes quite intense. The, I don't know what that was, 1,000. I thought I saw 9 something. The center should have come up there. But anyway, got one of those going on through, but looks like it's going to take a turn and fish out to the right. And then toward the end, we have some development coming in through the Straits of Florida, through the off the Yucatan Peninsula, and this is the Yucatan Straits here, but that's coming over Havana, and this is going to be 270 hours out. So we're looking at the 26th toward the end of the month here when this could happen. This scenario could happen. So you got two little areas there coming across South Florida, another little area there just offshore that looks to fish out. This thing is hanging pretty close to the coast. So if it initializes somewhere there into the Western Caribbean, there's a chance it slides up the coast. We got 982 there, which is, getting close to being a hurricane at 982 coming up the shoreline and moving on to the east. Two things here of note that are super serious. Is there a way, and I've forgotten all about it here, Drew, are there sea surface temperatures here?
Don't believe there is inside the program.
Okay. Well, anyway, we're looking at mid-90s across portions of the central Gulf of Mexico. Some of these are into the mid-90s here, and as a result, water temperatures are mid-90s. We don't really know what to do with that, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I don't think it's a case that the higher the number temperature-wise, the more volatile it actually is, because I've seen temperatures get up like this before.
You can turn your buoys on, David. I've got the buoys turned on, and that's under the marine tools. So if data overlay settings, click on that. There you go. So yeah, I'm looking at one just northwest of Key West right now, showing a sea surface temperature of 90.1 degrees. And not all of them have that, unfortunately. It looks like I'm clicking several, and they've got air temperature, wind speed, wave information, but there are a few in there that do show sea surface temperature.
Yeah, there's a sea surface at 88. Sea surface and air temperatures are going to be about the same because one is affecting the other. But I know these, and there's been some rain there, so I'm sure it's a little bit rain affected. But out here into the middle of the ocean, into the middle of the Gulf of Mexico, sea surface temperatures right about 90 degrees. And then if you go, I saw there was a record breaker that might be a record breaker for the Gulf of Mexico that was 3 meters deep. And I've actually been out here and done some scuba diving a while back out near Anglers Park here. This is going to be just outside of the John Pennekamp Cedar or Coral Reef Estate Park. And I've been there, I don't know, 10 or 12 times and done some snorkeling. But they did take a temperature there 6 foot deep that was 101 degrees, Drew. And that's, that's when you start worrying about the coral.
Mm-hmm.
When you get those kind of temperatures there, that's when it becomes an environmental problem. Fish also included. Fish don't like 101 degrees.
Or the manatees as well.
The manatees going through there.
Yep. Man,
we've seen some... I was down there not long ago. I saw 2 manatees inside of the inside of the sandbar, And about 15 minutes later, I saw a bear. Now, did you see the bear come ashore?
I did see the video of the bear come ashore.
That was like 5 minutes from me. People started coming down the beach, running past me because the bear was coming on shore there in Destin, and then there were some people who were trying to pet the thing.
Oh my gosh.
I worry about people.
Yep. That's that natural
Uh,
selection thing, is it not?
my goodness, the poor thing swam. They say it swam from the other side of the Destin Bridge
Good grief.
and came all the way over. So, uh, you know, what a weird, if you count everything that's gone on through the summer,
Yep.
it's been pretty freaking weird as to what's been taking place. But the tropics as a whole, the National Hurricane Center just came out and said they're expecting above normal conditions again, which I smirk at because
Yep.
we're going to go another at least 10 days, I guess, without any formation. Um,
And that puts us at
So
the end
now
of the
you're
month, and there you go.
Yeah,
Right?
now you're getting into early September. The
Yep.
peak's the 15th, the 20th, something like that. I remember when I was just getting on television, the peak was the 15th, September the 15th, and I think they're calling that a little bit different now. But
It's September 10th because that is my
it's
wedding anniversary, and that's,
yeah,
believe it or not, that's why my wife gave me 3 or 4 different dates, and I picked the 10th because I said, hey, that's
really,
an easy way to always remember our anniversary, right? So,
yeah, yeah. So the dates may change a little bit, but
yep,
that's
it's average, I
That's
believe.
kind
So,
of what it is. And you talked about this heat dome. So yeah, we got 500 millibar temperatures. I saw are super thick
yep,
coming up middle of the week. So that's going to be right in the middle of or the end of the week. Actually, it's going to be right in the middle of the country as high pressure really builds, and just as soon as this cool air dips on in, it's going to be pushed out of the way
yep.
again. And right now, actually, I can show you. I think I can show you just with a. Let me see. Just with Safari here. These are some of the NDFD expected records for the rest of the week. The possible ties or break-in records. This is on the 13th. You
Flip
can
your
see the
video back
record
if we
highs.
can, David.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take you full screen.
Um,
There we go.
really crude graphic, but does show you where by Thursday,
Yep.
this is Thursday the 17th, these are projected possible record breakers. So that's really the state of Texas and all the way along the Gulf Coast, actually, over to Mobile. That 97 degrees would be a record breaker or tie it there. That's going to be down to the south. Let's see. That's Pensacola, actually. So that would be a record of 98 was set in 1993. So it's close to a record down there, even down there. So that's Thursday. Then Friday, still the heat down there. Got some heat building over here. And what's that going to be? Saturday the 19th, still record possibilities down to the south or up here in Nebraska and Iowa. And then it's kind of scattered about. I find it a little bit odd that 89 is a record in Bryson City. It would be a close to a record. 90 is the record there, set in 2007 in Bryson City, Tennessee.
That's pretty wild.
And yeah, that is kind of wild. And then by Monday, just scattered about. The 102 in Jackson would tie a record, I think. No, 103 is a record, so that's close to a record. Set in 2000. And then you still got records that are going to be close to being broken back here into Texas. So not exactly through with those as we go through the next 5 to 7 days. Still looking like that's a possibility.
I love what we're doing here because you'll get on social media, you'll get on the internet, and people are posting these graphics that are just showing the big heat bubble in the Midwest, saying the hottest it's ever going to be in next week in the Midwest. And, that take that with a grain of salt. Like that's something we're trying to do here on the channel. And David, I'd like to. I hadn't asked you yet, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. I'd like to do another one of these, maybe Thursday night. Probably the LSM channel did not fire up, so we'll probably do one over on the LSM channel that night and kind of look at the heat bubble then. And what I'd like to do is kind of not by name, but kind of put some of these people on the spot because I think there's so much weather out there right now that is clickbait and thumbnails. And look, it may get really hot and over a lot of the country. It may, but I don't see anything extended for days and days and days, because if you look right here, there's our cool shot in the eastern part of the country. See that little gray shade from Missouri up through Ohio, the Great Lakes region. That's what we're dealing with right now. And then if you look as we go into later in the week, little cool shot moves out, warms up behind it. But look what's coming in on its heels. There's another little cool down for the Great Lakes as we get closer to the end of the week. That's Thursday right there. And then as we get closer to Friday, yep, that's really hot, you guys. Minneapolis down to Des Moines, parts of Nebraska, Kansas, the Dakotas. Oh, yeah, you're going to be baking by the end of the week for sure. But look again, you got another little cool shot that tries to work down from the north by the 20th. They've taken my days away. What's the 20th? It's 5 days from now. That's the weekend.
I noticed that too. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, we used to have a day up there at the top.
Used to have the date up there that would help out. But,
I just said that's Sunday. So here we go, Sunday morning-ish. Another little cold front coming down from the north. So again, kind of a short, 1 or 2 day, really hot, and then we get another break. Heat wave, heat bubble building out over the Rockies. Notice there as we start out the new work week. That's Monday. And then as we go into next week, yep, there's another big heat ridge building for Tuesday into the Wednesday time frame. But look what happens again. By the time you get to midweek, look at you guys in the Northeast. That's a big cool shot coming down.
That's
Washington,
a big cool down.
I mean, that's cooler than what we've got now. Coming into Boston, New York City, Washington, Chicago, Detroit, Toledo, Ohio, all the way up to statewide Pennsylvania as well. So yeah, that's a big cool shot coming down, and that tries to go all the way into the mid-Atlantic and portions of the southeast by the middle and end of next week. So like I said, that's kind of why we're here, just doing these forecast updates, forecast discussions, because you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff on social media talking about how we're going to bake the whole country. Yeah, they're right to a point. But I don't think we're going to get set up in this big long-term heat ridge that's going to last for days and days and weeks on end. Looks like a little upper level low trying to rotate in right there in the southeast. Check that out around the end of the month. But that's voodoo land. That's so far out that will change 100 times between now and then. But again, prepare now.
It does kind of look like the monsoon sets up into the southwest a little bit toward that period too. But yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine recently, a longtime meteorologist, and he was like, it's gotten so saturated now in social media. He said you got these sort of groups that are following somebody, or, it's, he said that, and it made common sense to me. He said, am I frozen? My lips weren't moving. Burp, 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 burp.
Well, your camera must have locked up. I've still got your audio good, but when you switch scenes, we went to the map. But yeah, for some reason your face cam must have frozen up.
Well, it's a decent picture.
It is a decent picture.
I was getting my passport, maybe, or whatever that would work, but I don't know why.
Yeah, your face cam must have just locked up for whatever reason. But wait, that's all right. We'll roll with it. We're about to wrap this thing up. So
yeah. No, he was making the point. He said, the thing about it is that in this scenario, nobody's accountable. Mm-hmm. They can say whatever they want to, and nobody comes back the next day and says, "Hey, you were wrong about this," like we always did in local television. The next day, you better be right, or you're going to hear about it.
Exactly.
And now you've got these national people who are doing these national forecasts and stuff, and it's a broad brush of a forecast. Mm-hmm. It's so broad that nobody can say you were right or wrong. And so it's in that way, it's kind of brilliant. Yep. And you're never, then you're never accountable for the people who are affected, because next day it's just kind of over with. And we used to do, I don't know if you remember, but long ago, as a promotional thing, we used to do the David Neal 3-degree guarantee.
I remember that. I do.
Yeah. And, that's how much they wanted you to be accountable back then. Do you think if we wrote down now what all these people were saying, and we came back the next day and showed them if they were right or wrong, do you think they'd still play along? I don't think so.
Not at all.
But it is a little bit odd at the way things have happened. And I just hope, I feel a little bit mixed about it. I mean, I love that even young people love the weather now. They've decided to, love the weather on their own terms, though, and be self-taught. And it's not exactly, I guess, anybody can get caught in a tornado. Mm-hmm. Anybody. You don't have to there's really not a lot of. You can follow all the cars now and just get caught in a tornado.
Yep.
That doesn't make you an expert.
That's right.
And sadly, we've already seen some people getting trapped. We've already seen some people getting too close. There's going to be a big effect is going to happen. There's going to be something. I'm afraid something does happen here in the long term. And as far as regulating it goes, I don't know exactly how they go about doing that either. But now you get, the roads are getting clogged in some of these areas, and emergency management and people like that can't really get to where they want to go. So I get this feeling they're going to do something about it
Yep.
at some point. And I
I
don't know.
agree. I agree.
I feel a little bit perplexed. But again, I love that the young people are loving the weather. Uh, but to own it and think that you have, I've always said the thing, if you hadn't been in one, I don't
Mm-hmm.
know that you're really allowed to talk about it.
I agree. That's true.
Yeah. If you haven't seen one, I'm not really sure you have the requirement to
Yep.
talk about it. And just
Yep.
like being Reed Timmer said the other day, and I kind of agree with him that, if you need a doctor, don't you want one who's had some courses on doctoring? Didn't really get all of his knowledge off the internet, off of YouTube.
Yep.
And
That's
I
true.
kind
I
of see
saw
it
one
that
this
way.
morning. I'm going to leave everybody with kind of a cliffhanger right here. Notice what we've got off the coast of Mexico. I saw a TV meteorologist. There's nothing wrong with this. If they want to do it, they can do the clickbait thing as well. It's everybody's free to do their own thing. But everybody was blasting him because he posted the GFS computer model showing a strong tropical storm or the remnants of a hurricane moving into Southern California. Yep, Southern California, beginning of next week. And there you go. GFS computer model valid Monday morning. That's a pretty strong little 994 millibar low pressure system in Southern California just offshore. So that's kind of the cliffhanger I want to leave with everybody, because that's something that I think we'll revisit, David, probably on our Thursday live that we'll do on the LSM YouTube channel. But yeah, that's some of the models are progging this system to get on up there. Cat 4, possibly make a run at Cat 5 as it moves. And again, we're in the Eastern Pacific. This is not the Atlantic, so no threat no threat to the Gulf Coast or the Eastern Seaboard, nothing like that. We're looking at the Pacific here, but it would be interesting to see, if we had a Cat 5, and then of course it will weaken as it gets into those cooler waters south of the Baja and south of the California area. Obviously it's going to weaken, but how much does it weaken before it gets on up there into the desert Southwest? So I think that's something we'll probably lead out with on Thursday. And if you have any friends or family, down there in parts of Arizona or maybe Southern California, may get a little rainy, may get a little windy, and we'll have to see how that plays out, for the rest of this week and the weekend. So.
All right, I wish I could make my mouth move, but I did just restart it, and that's still the same way.
It didn't work. Well, we had you here for 95% of the show tonight, so we're gonna see what we got to do.
It shows my hat now. That I've had that hat since I started school at Florida State University in '84. I think I got that hat in 1984, and it's as nasty. It's the nasty. I wash it once every couple of years. So it has been washed before, but now if I wash it, it's just falling apart.
Yep.
At the front. But
well, everybody, thanks for tuning in tonight. Dave, thank you for your time. Like I said, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of these here on Brett Adair's channel and, of course, on the LSM channel. We couldn't work it out tonight. We've got some software that's supposed to feed the live stream to both, and it did not want to play nicely today. So I'm going to fix that to where we can stream to both channels when we're doing this. And like I said, we'll plan on being back here probably Thursday night.
Sounds
Dave,
good.
anything else you got?
Nope.
All right, guys.
Let's go enjoy the cool weather outside.
Go outside if you're behind this cold front and go sit on your deck or patio or front porch or whatever you got, because I'm telling you, you're going to be baking in the heat again before too long.
Before you know it.
Before you know it. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for tuning in.
See you, bro.
And we are clear.